Seth, dude, how are you, pal? They're not back. I'm just going to hell with them, man. We're going to get this show going here. I'm giving you the big applause because I'm bringing my friend Seth Coonan. There's Seth. What's going on, brother? John and Marty, they're just doing their thing. How are you, pal? Good to have you here, man.
Oh, I'm doing good. I'm so excited to be here with you guys.
Yes. So Seth Coonan is joining us from somewhere out west. So you set us up where you're geographically located, and I'm going to bring the rest in. So Seth, where are you joining us from, pal?
I'm northern central California, but I'm up in the mountains. Oh, you think where the Bay Area is? I'm due east in the cuts. So it's rural, it's up in the woods, we get snow, and yeah, that's where I'm at. So
my brother-in-law lives up there, up by Yosemite.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful, beautiful up there.
Yes. So Seth is a front-end web developer with a twist. He's still working as a pest control technician. And I think, guys, I'm actually wrestling with my head here, whether we want to talk pest control and all the shit that he sees on a day-to-day basis, or all the fun that he does when he gets away from controlling pests and gets behind the keyboard. From Java to JavaScript, Seth has roasted over 100,000 pounds, Johnny, of coffee as a roast master before turning his focus to code. He's a family man first, coder by night. Between balancing 2 toddlers and his tech ambitions, Seth finds his coding time between 10 p.m. and midnight after the kids go to bed. I love that. You're like, okay, I got a window here. Here's what I'm going to do it. His big dream, and this is what Seth got on the show, you guys. This is how he got on the show. I watched a post on Seth put on LinkedIn one day. His big dream, he can see San Francisco from his home, a place he has dreamed of working from for years. So Marty, John, think about this, right? You're out there doing your day job. You're out there grinding. You know, John, we talk about grinding, showing up. This guy shows up every single day because I watch it. But he shows up every single day, and then during his day, he looks across out to the horizon, and he's, I want to go over there. It's like you look into North Korea, or you look into any of those big journeys you've had, or Marty, you're like, I'm going to LA, I'm going there. Seth, I'm going that way. So Seth, that's inspiring to me, man. Like when you go through your day and you stop and pause and look to the future, let's talk about leaning into what you look towards with your dreams. Seth Coonan.
Man, you mentioned I have kids. That's such a big part of my identity. And they are your biggest superpower and your biggest liability when it comes to chasing dreams, because you have no risk tolerance anymore, but you want to do everything for them. So every day I'm working towards gaining the skills, building the abilities so that I can do something more than what I'm doing. I mean, it pays the bills, but that's it. And I'm not going anywhere, and I want to go somewhere. So yeah, I want my kids to have more than what I had. And I'm not even trying I don't need to be the 1%. I just want them to have what we need. I don't need the best cars, the best houses. I want to reach for more. I know I can do more, so I'm going to do it.
I got goosebumps, Johnny.
Man, I love it. Number one, the fact that you're recognizing that, hey, you know what? I have this setup that's taking care of, it's basically paying for everything right now. But I'm going to take this time when they don't need me is really the key. They're sleeping, and I'm going to invest that time in developing another set of skills so I can create a better life. I just put out a video, and it was basically saying, and it went back to one of the lifestyle tips. Let your kids be a reason to grow, not an excuse to say the same. And a lot of people commented like, oh, you don't want to spend time with your kids. No, dummy. It's not about taking time away from the time you're spending with them. It's about creating more time when you're doing shit that you shouldn't be doing.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm just assuming that you had a moment that was like the kick in the ass to make you feel that way. I'm going to ask you about that, but I just wanted to say that we need that moment, right? A lot of people back down from it and they get discouraged by it. It's actually a blessing in disguise. And so what was that moment for you? And why was that the kick-ass moment for you that made you realize, hey, I need more, I want more?
Yeah, it was this, having kids is transformative. If you haven't gone through it, you probably know someone who has. And one of the biggest transformations for me was how I looked at time. I went from thinking I had free time to realizing that no time is free. You just choose how you spend it. So you can choose to spend it on yourself, but it's still being spent. And so I had all this time where I was just sitting on my butt watching TV. I really was. And then I had this kid, and I'm not watching TV anymore. All my time is gone. I'm living for this little human now. And I just realized I wanted to be putting my time into something that's productive, that's feeding me, I'm growing, and I felt better for it, and I liked it, and I chased that. And so, yeah, there's no free time. You just have time that you spend on yourself, whether you're growing or relaxing, but it's all being spent and there's no refunds.
Yeah. Seth, you're getting some comments from the feed here as well there, Seth. You got good time coming in with respect that, man. Hey, we're shaking Jolie and Curtis. Good to have you here on the show this morning. I always love having you seeing the feeds here. You definitely will. And what she's referring to, Seth, is you're talking about your dreams coming forward. And I agree with you, Matt. And then as you said, we got our regular here, who's I know talked to you in the comments as well. Good time coming back with when your side hustle turns into full-time, it will be worth it. Johnny Anderson, I saw you nodding as Seth was communicating, and you perk up when he said a couple of things. John, what did Seth say that moved you along when you talked about the value of time, John Anderson?
What was that was time, and it just parlayed into how everything, when kids come about, it's like what you see just completely changes. For me, it was like putting a turbocharger on what I was doing. It was like, holy shit, this is not just about me anymore. I need to make sure that all of a sudden my drive went through the roof, because all of a sudden now I'm doing it my way. And this is not an easy path. And I better really bust my ass to make sure that I succeed on this non-traveled path, because that little one needs me. And I don't want the little ones, the first one, obviously, little one when I first became a dad, I don't want the little one to watch me doing shit that's not representative of being a good role model, being a person who's not chasing his dreams. I had to live in a way completely that demonstrated what I wanted her to basically have as a roadmap for her life. So I had to start pushing people out of my life. I had to stop doing dumb shit. I was already traveling the world and kicking ass as a pro strongman, but now all of a sudden, whoa, I guess it really does matter if I do these little things here. Like at that point, I still drank a little bit, and I was okay, gone. All of the shit that's not going to teach her how to do it is gone. And that included people.
Yeah. Yeah. We got good time coming in here with good time is what to say here. Oh, it's rainy out, but it got in trouble this morning. Good time. That is awesome. And you know what? I want to continue to call this out, because if you tune into the show regularly, we celebrate people who get up and get going in the morning. We celebrate those that do not hit the snooze button. And Good Time has been joining the show since day one and gets after it every single day. So Good Time, keep going after it. If it's raining,
I want to add, Good Time was on my show last night, cracking up, laughing. So I'm gonna take some credit for the motivation. But good job, Good Time.
That's exceptional. Christina, there's the tip jar for my exceptional word there. I'm working on getting that word out of my dictionary. So we're going to move exactly and exceptional out of the word vocabulary for Keith here along the way.
That's exactly it.
Hey, Seth, so hold on here. You roasted over 100,000 pounds of coffee as a roast master. Like, dude, not Toastmaster, a roast master. I know Johnny loves his coffee. I love my coffee. Marty loves his coffee. Tina we got a lot of people loving the coffee. We're the morning show. We're all about coffee. Dude, talk about roasting 100,000 pounds of coffee. What's that all about, brother?
Yeah, that was over the course of 2 years. It was about 50,000 a year. And I got into that job right out of high school, like most people do, nepotism. My father was doing that. He was the roast master, and it's a small business, and he's pretty much running it. And he's, I got a job for you. We didn't even talk about it. It's just I got in the car and went to work with him. I was done with high school a week later. And yeah, he ended up getting cancer. And as he got sick, he trained me. So I stepped into his role and became the roast master, and it was awesome. But it's a fun blend of art and science. You got this 2-story tall machine that's you're roasting the coffee in. The main drum isn't that big. It's about 90 pounds at a time. And you've got seconds on these roasts where you got to make decisions, and 10, 15 seconds, and you have a completely different flavor. And so you got 90 pounds of coffee that you could completely ruin. So there's some pressure there, but it was also so thrilling when you drop the roast, you did it right. And it was a pretty interesting job. And I had a nice claim to fame, 100,000 pounds of something. I moved that much coffee through that place. And it's a fascinating thing. And I'm going to get a sample roaster at some point and start up again just for myself.
I got to tell you, I spent some time down in Panama, and I went to a coffee plantation, and they showed me how they not only pick the coffee beans, but then make the coffee. Dude, I can't get over how laborious that whole process is to make coffee. Like we pour it down the drain like it's nothing, and we drink it like it's nothing, and we take it for granted. But it is not a cheap process to make a cup of coffee, Seth Coonan.
Yeah, I didn't deal a whole lot with anything before I got the beans, but I mean, there's something like 1,000% markup from the crop to the cup. So there's a lot of work that goes into it, and the price reflects that from where it starts. Unfortunately, there's a lot of controversy of what those pickers get paid.
Yes.
But that was over a decade that I was doing that, roasting the coffee.
Nope.
Yeah, but this is crazy, man, because I've been on this kind of a slow search for an answer about coffee because I love coffee. And all of a sudden the universe drops someone right in front of me that actually has some deep coffee knowledge. So first off, universe, thank you. So here's what I've been trying to figure out. Excuse me.
Marty, here goes. Get the recording on.
I've heard, and of course you hear lots of crazy shit, but what's actually real? And is it just people that don't know what they're talking about? Or is there some reality to this? I've heard a lot about coffee beans and mold and coffee beans and the chemicals and all sorts of stuff. Break that down. Is this a real thing, or is this just people talking smack because they got no idea what's going on with the guys like you who are actually getting the job done?
Yeah, that's hard to figure out. How much is the hype cycle? How much is fear mongering to just get views? And how much is real? How much should you be paying attention to? The biggest issue I'd hear about is like decaffeinated coffee. And they talk about the chemicals that they use for it. And the chemicals they use when they do that are awful. If you were exposed to those, it would be a bad thing. But they also have a boiling point that's below like human body temperature, where that's how they get rid of them, is they evaporate them off. And so there's a bunch of points in the process where those would just be gone.
Good to know.
And
what about
so,
mold?
As far as the mold goes, I never noticed anything. I feel like you would taste that in an instant if there was mold in your coffee. And when you're roasting it, you're at 450 degrees. You're burning out everything. And you think about mold toxins and all that. But I mean, you would taste that in a cup of coffee. That flavor profile is so delicate that I think
that was what I was wondering, because it was one of these movements for this certain mold-free, chemical-free coffee bean. And I'm like, great marketing strategy, but is this really a problem? Or are people just going to buy into the fact that there's a problem and pay this elevated amount for coffee beans when there's really not a problem that's notable enough to even worry about? So it sounds like what you're saying is that it's really not an issue.
As far as I'm aware. And I'm speaking from the perspective of someone who is a small business. We got our beans in, we had them fresh roasted and sent them back out, and they weren't there for more than a month. Now that might be a very different thing for one of these huge conglomerate roasters. I don't know what their inventory process is.
All right.
To me,
We're talking coffee with Seth and John here. We're going to segue the conversation to our See Marty Fits It tip. Exactly. Sorry, Seth, keeping you on time here. Marty, we're going to get you coming up here with the See Marty Fit tip.
Let's rock, man.